everyone, my name is Peep Peep, and welcome to Court's Party Book of Shadows. This is Chapter 3. Let's just get into it. Let's see. Tenjin 5. Is that a 23, or is it 33? Mr. Yazaki's handwriting is atrocious. This really wasn't my day. Oh, wait, is this... Wait, hold on. I think I know what this is. I knocked over my alarm clock this morning, and of course, it stopped working. The very last pork sandwich sold out right before my eyes during lunch, and I was roped into a favor when I happened upon my homeroom teacher and Mr. Yamazaki long after the school day ended. So now, like it or not, I was on my way to deliver some notes to Miss Yu after homeroom TA, who was out sick with a cold. I'll have to make sure I apologize to Yuka later. I know how disappointed she'll be that I'm missing our shopping date. 523, number 11. Found it. As long as this doesn't actually read 633, number 77, anyway. Oh, there's gates. I stopped and compared the memo in my hand with the apartment building in front of me. That's a kind of creepy apartment building. It's a little sketchy. It was 2 stories tall and looked a little on the shabby side, yep. Probably about 20 years old. 20? I feel like this might be a little older. It didn't seem very solid, nor was it particularly stylish or chic. It was a completely unremarkable structure in every way. Apartment 207, or is that 201? I was really getting fed up with his handwriting, and from a teacher, no less. No, teachers usually have bad handwriting, dude. In any case, it seemed certain the apartment was on the 2nd floor, so I trudged up the startlingly narrow, steep stairs. The metal staircase was thoroughly blotched with patches of rust. Why would someone live in such a rundown apartment building? Are teachers' salaries really that low? Yep. A lot of them are. A lot of teachers I knew had another job after. I felt a little sorry for her, but in a way, this place kind of fit her personality. With that thought in mind, I turned my attention towards apartment 201. Here we are, 201. Yeah, this doesn't look like Miss Yu's place. The door plate for the room nearest the stairs had a name I didn't recognize scribbled on it. Guess that means we tried door number 2. Passing room 201, I continued down the narrow walkway toward the end. Wandering alone around an apartment building I'd never seen before made me feel kind of nervous. It wasn't like I was doing anything wrong, but my back tensed up as I maneuvered around piled up strollers, plastic toys, and bundles of newspapers. And then finally I arrived at the last door. Bingo! This was it. I breathed a sigh of relief. The door plate apartment 207 read, for an adult's handwriting especially, the letters were rounded and overly cutesy. This was Miss Yu's place, alright. What's this? I leaned in to read something written in a small script on the corner of the door plate. Beware of cat? Shouldn't that be beware of dog? That's Miss Yu for you. So how exactly does one beware of a house cat? Because sometimes house cats can be a little mean. Is it even possible for a house cat to be threatening? Yes. For my cat, you have to be like an animal or a kid when he hates you. At any rate, I confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was Miss Yu's place, so my errand was nearing its end. What was Mr. Yamazaki thinking anyway? I understand taking handouts to sick classmates, but delivering class notes to the home of an absent teacher? That just seems weird. This isn't something a student should be doing. He'd said he was busy with meetings, though, and really needed one of his students to help him out. But was it really okay to entrust a school student with confidential class notes? Wouldn't it be kind of a problem if I were to read these? My mind kept drifting from one question to another, and I'd become acutely aware of the inherent value in these notes I held in my bag. But tempting as it was, I just couldn't bring myself to look at them. Mr. Yamazaki put his faith in me after all. And I was stronger than that. I couldn't let this get the best of me. At any rate, I was here. I should have been able to drop off the notes and be on my way. Putting all my doubts and misgivings aside, I rang the doorbell. And then I waited and waited and waited some more, but there was no answer. Huh? I did ring it. It did ring, didn't it? I rang out the bell again, and also tried calling out. But there was still no response. What should I do? Maybe she's sleeping. I don't want to wake her, but I'm a little concerned. When you heard that Miss Yu was staying homesick today, we were all pretty disappointed. That's why part of me was actually a little happy that I was asked to run these over to her. I figured I'd be able to check in, see how she was doing, and let everyone at school know that she was feeling better. It never occurred to me that I might not be able to see her, though. Miss Yu? Miss Yu? Nothing, huh? Miss Yu? Hello? She was probably sleeping or out at the doctor's or something, but what if she were hurt? I tried opening the mail slot and peeking in. I thought maybe I could get a glimpse of the room inside. Miss Yu? It felt kind of wrong peeking into someone's house without their permission. Yep. But I was legitimately worried about Miss Yu's health, so my consent was clear on this one. Ah! Oh, it's a cat. Oh, the cat. A well-groomed cat was facing the door and staring back at me. With its head tilted slightly to the side, it let out an adorable meow. Thus be the cat I was instructed to beware. And since Miss Yu was always going on about her little buddy, I was pretty sure I remembered his name. You Mort, right? Oh no, it's Monet, I think. Yeah, Monet. What a pretty kitty you are, Monet. Miss Yu talked about her cat a lot in class, so pretty much the whole class had heard of him. She even had tins of cat food hidden on a shelf in the classroom, probably because she bought too much and had no room for them in her apartment. Here, kitty kitty, Monet, Monet, is Miss Yu home? If she's home, would you mind waking her up for me? That's a good kitty. Yeah, I didn't think that would work. My shoulders sank. I felt defeated. What the hell was I doing? I closed the mail slot and stood back up. Damn, I sure hope Miss Yu's alright. She's probably just out right now or something, which would mean the door's locked, I'm sure. Lost in speculation, I placed my hand on the doorknob, and with a quick twist, I turned it and pushed on the door, opening it easily. Huh? Why are you walking in? It wasn't locked? Crap, that's not good. I can't let Monet out. Your master is pretty careless, huh? Leaving the door unlocked like that. Monet's whiskers twitched as I called out to him from the entranceway. What's that you say? She is? You and I are on the same page, Monet. Here, I was talking to a cat. Was this all I'd become? What should I do? I was feeling pretty uneasy. Not only had I peeped into someone's home, I'd walk in without a second thought. Moreover, this was where Miss Yu lived, alone, in other words, a woman's apartment. No matter how many times I reminded myself that I was here on an errand, I couldn't help the feeling that I not only crossed the line, but leaped over it. Miss Yu? I tried calling her name one last time, but I expected there was no answer. So, what now? I was trying hard to avoid being too nosy, but my eyes inevitably began surveying the room. The apartment entrance led out immediately into the kitchen, and beyond that was a sliding door to some other room. I could see light through the gaps. I strayed my eyes, but there was nothing to hear, no signs of life whatsoever. Miss Yu really must have been out. One more time. I tried calling out to her one more time, just to put my concerns at ease. I felt like I'd seem even more suspicious if I stayed silent. Miss Yu? Still nothing. Maybe she's asleep on the other side of that door. Let's just have a little look-see. Then, wait. Shaking my head furiously, I cast out that sudden impulse. That was a terrible idea, pure and simple. Entering the apartment unannounced was bad enough, but walking all the way in, opening that sliding door, and peeking inside, that was just too much. And if Miss Yu happened to come and find me standing there, I'd be in pretty hot water, huh? No, scratch that. I'd be in plentiful, dense, sculping water. Monet mewed, if in agreement. Panicking, I once again surveyed my surroundings. I almost felt like there were eyes on me, staring with disdain. But of course, nobody was there. Oh right, I can just leave a note. Wondering why I didn't think of this sooner, I dug into my bag for some paper and a pen. Miss Yamazaki asked me to come by. That should be enough, right? I'll just use some notebook paper. Let's see, Miss Yu. Crouching in the doorway, I ran my pen across the page. I brought class notes and Mr. Yamazaki's behest. Everyone has been worried about you. Sorry about barging into your apartment. Please, don't forget to lock the door from now on. As I was writing in the note, I sensed my presence in front of me. Until just a moment ago, this house had no signs of human life in it, but now I could feel someone standing directly ahead. Standing and looking down at me. Huh? Fidgeting nervously, I put down my pen. Raised my head slowly. And just saw a white, slender ankle. Oh! Oh my goodness, she's so cute. Shocked, I shot my head up, and there, standing before me, was Miss Yu. Miss Yu? She was looking right at me, but she seemed decidedly out of sorts. Her hair looked disheveled, her gaze was unsteady, and her pajamas were in complete disarray. She was like a completely different person from the usual kempt educator we'd come to know and love. I'm so sorry to have entered your apartment without permission. Here. I stood up frankly and held up the note I'd been writing. But... Huh? Miss Yu was just standing there, stupefied, with a completely vacant expression on her face. I called out to her as gently as I could, but she was really dazed. She seemed almost like a ghost. Miss Yu, what happened to you? I had a sudden uneasy feeling. Worried, I walked up to Miss Yu, grabbed her shoulders, and tried to snap her out of it by shaking her. But instead... She's sick. This just seemed to make her cough. Hey, Miss Yu! These were wet, productive coughs, and spit was shooting out of Miss Yu's mouth with each one. I frantically tried to shield my face from the spray, but my reaction time just wasn't quick enough. I put a hand to her cheek and found it thick with a slimy film of saliva. Ew! Are you okay, Miss Yu? Miss Yu hobbled back a little, then fell to her knees with a thud. She had completely sprawled out in the hallway, moaning and groaning the whole time. Wiping the spatterings out from my own face, I leaned over and took a better look at hers. It was bright red. Strained breathing and a stuffy nose and a visible high fever on top of it all. She was sick as it could be. I'm cold. Cold, but you're dripping with sweat. It's cold. I thought maybe her sweat had cooled her down, but then realized her disheveled pajamas certainly weren't doing her favors. With heart pounding a mile a minute and her face red as a traffic light, I set about buttoning her up. Miss Yu, you know who this is, right? It's Mashida from school? If you're cold, you need to sleep under your covers. Otherwise, you won't get any better. She absentmindedly extended her shaking arms like a zombie, slowly reopened her eyes and looked up at me. It was a gaze of a seriously fevered mind. Miss Yu? What? Miss Yu was clinging to me tightly. I couldn't move. I was frozen in shock. She began to weep. You've come for me. Huh? Who's Tazaki? What a lovely surprise. I'm so glad you're here. Miss Yu, wait, you've got the wrong person. It seemed like I wasn't getting through to her at all. And that sensation of her chest as she held me was making it virtually impossible to fight her grip. I was really powerless against the opponent. I never realized before just how soft a woman's chest really was. That's weird. God, am I that weak-minded? Weak-willed, I have to remind myself that Miss Yu had me confused with someone else. Mustering all the strength I could, I gripped her arms and tried to pry them off me. But she was a lot stronger than I anticipated, and wouldn't let me get away. I was so scared. I was so scared. Scared? Never thought you'd actually come. As she squeezed me tightly, I felt as though my upper body might collapse under her softest parts. I was blushing uncontrollably. Miss Yu, please let go. No, I won't. Come on, Miss Yu. I struggled to wriggle free, but Miss Yu only grabbed me tighter. Our bodies were getting more and more intertwined, and every time I squirmed, Miss Yu would just pull me even closer. Oh my goodness, the sounds. As her chest rose and fell erratically, drops of sweat slid down into her cleavage. Oh my god. I could feel the heat of her fever radiating off of her steadily encroaching face, as well as the way the shoulders I'd grabbed in an effort to push away. Stay here with me, please. I'm telling you, you got the wrong person. Questions were swirling around in my head. Why was Miss Yu crying, and who was this Tuzaki person? But I was most concerned for the state of her pajamas, which had become even more disheveled during our struggle. Miss Yu, your pajamas, your pants. They're sliding down. They're so warm. Realizing that not a single word was getting through to her, I sighed. I'd taken care of Yuka any number of times when she caught a cold and drawn a fever, but I don't recall it ever getting this bad. Miss Yu was usually calm, collected, and rational. Who would ever imagine that a fever could leave her so thoroughly discombobulated? Miss Yu, seriously, pull yourself together. I put more strength in my resistance, and finally her arms relaxed just the tightest bit. But her expression changed drastically. No, please. Miss Yu, I'm Satoshi Masha, not this. Please don't go, please. Miss Yu was acting like a spoiled child. Slipping out of the shoes I'd still been wearing, I again drew close to her sprawled out form. There was no way I could just leave her like this. I sure hope none of this seems too sketchy after your fever breaks. Miss Yu let out a lethargic groan, perhaps in response to my quiet murmurs. Oops, I skipped that. Gently willing her head over to her unfurled futon, I then carefully laid her down, making sure I didn't drop her in the process. Then there was the matter of rebuttoning those pesky pajamas again. Hesitant, I pulled her up her pajama bottoms and pushed away the stray hairs that were plastered in her brow with sweat. I did my best to avoid seeing anything I shouldn't, but I'm a guy, so my heart is pounding the whole time. Miss Yu's pajamas were soaked through with sweat. She really might have been better off with a change of clothes altogether. But no, that would have been going way too far. Wish I could just find a towel or something so I could at least wipe off some of that moisture away. Noticing a convenience store bag carelessly tossed to the floor, I glanced inside. Hey, she already brought cold packs. I wasn't using them. Jeez, Miss Yu, this might be a little cold, but bear with me, okay? Alright, I think that'll help. I placed one of the compresses on her forehead and pulled the covers over her. Miss Yu appeared almost instantly relieved. She inhaled contentedly, and breathing became more relaxed. Finally, she was asleep. Even in sleep, Miss Yu seemed to be suffering. Oh, Monet, you were worried about your master? I don't blame you. When Miss Yamazaki said she was sick, I had no idea it would be this bad. Dude, now you're gonna get sick. Monet had coiled up on my legs without me noticing. I began absent-mindedly speaking to him. He mewed in response, and our conversation ended there, as my gaze was still fixed squarely on Miss Yu. So what do I do now? Miss Yu? Go home, idiot. Are you okay to be alone right now? She wasn't in any condition to respond, but Miss Yu? Miss Yu's hand had slipped out from under the futon and was gently grasping my pant leg. Hey. Her grip was much weaker than before, but I knew I'd probably regret it if I went home now. Miss Yu just seemed really lonely. Well, I guess I'll settle in then. Dude, what the heck? Without disturbing Miss Yu's hold on me, I took a seat beside her. For the time being, I figured I'd watch over her and make sure her condition didn't worsen. Occasionally, Miss Yu's breathing would become ragged, and she'd furrow her brow. She was in pretty bad way. Poor thing. Wasn't there anything else I could do? I glanced quietly down the hall. I noticed when I carried Miss Yu here that the kitchen near the entrance was perfectly neat and tidy. There wasn't any indication it had been used that day at all. I wonder if she'd eaten anything. Monet's gaze shifted suddenly. One dish was filled to the brim with water, and the other was piled high with dried cat food. Seems someone's eating well around here, huh? Even delirious with fever, she's still taking real good care of you. But that's not good, Miss Yu. You should be thinking about your own meals first. I shook my head at the whole situation, then glanced down at Monet, who was tilting his head as if trying to understand me. I broke into a weary smile. Then, when I pulled out the cold packs, I did notice some cheap convenience store food in the bag. I guess that was going to be her food for the day. Not exactly the best stuff to eat when you're sick. There's rice and eggs at least. Maybe I'll make egg porridge or something. Miss Yu, may I borrow your kitchen? Her face was bright red and half pained, half contented noises provided me with no clear-cut answer to my question. Don't think I'm going to get much out of her about you, Monet. Do you have permission to use the kitchen? Excellent, thank you. Monet's cries helped uses my guilt over entering a woman's apartment and borrowing her kitchen. Not that I had any reason to feel guilty, I don't think. Anyway, I mean, because circumstances were what they were. Still, I had this nagging sense that I should have somehow felt bad about what I was doing. Yeah. Excuse me, please, Miss Yu. I'm going to need to get up. One by one, I gently peeled off each of the fingers latched to my pant leg. The expression on her face changed as I was doing so from contented rest to mild annoyance, but there was nothing to indicate that she might wake up. Alright then, let's see what we can do, shall we? As I stood up, Monet mewed happily and began tagging along at my heels. And Miss Yu, now resting by herself in the bedroom, let out a sudden sneeze. Alright, episode 3. Come on, Yu. Gross, I just got sprayed. Sorry, I had a real tingle in my nose today for some reason. Honestly. Tissues, where did I put them? Oh, wow, did I get that much on you? Here, use one of mine. It's the least I can do. Great, don't mind if I do. What? She's talking to me. May I have one too, please? Let's see, here we go. Thanks. You guys really should keep it extra recipe, you know? Well, sorry. Honestly. So, what were you talking about again? You remember we were talking about what it's like to be seniors now. Oh, I know, right? Can't it be just one more year before we graduate? While graduation is important, don't forget there's life afterward to think about as well. Our careers! Yep. No, I really don't want to think about that. Well, there's a reason we've been subjected to all those career counseling sessions, and it's because our future are just big question marks right now. No kidding. What are we going to do with our lives? It's scary. Any ideas, you? You have any plans for the future? Actually, I've got it all figured out. What? Well, don't leave us hanging out with it, girl. Well, oh, she's so cute. My name is Shishido. I'm 17. My dream is to be a teacher. I butt into the lives of others without second thought, and I spent most of my time doing nothing important. But I believe that even some like me can make her dreams come true, even with enough hard work. So 5 years ago. Wait, so she's 22 now? Well, she's young. Wow. The cherry blossoms were in bloom, and the rustling wind carried with it the soft warmth of the season. I was a high school senior now, and was devoting myself to my studies in preparation for the day my dream would become reality. And that dream was to become an English teacher. My grades were on the fence for getting into the university I wanted, though. So my best bet was to score a special recommendation from the academy. Phew, that was a lucky break. When I got called to the office, I had no clue what it might be about. After school one day, I was summoned to the teacher's room. I was freaking out that maybe I'd failed or my grades weren't good enough for the school I wanted to go to, or something terrible like that. But it turned out to be my fears were all for naught. You have no rival in our academy, they said, so if you keep working hard, we'll be happy to give you a recommendation. Man, that ever a pick-me-up. I feel like I could take on the world now. I'm going to have to make sure I don't let this chance slip by me. So, this trash can, what exactly is it so ridiculously heavy again? Carrying this beast to the dumpster is going to be the death of me. Hey, this hair's pretty cool. Looks like an older anime guy. I turned around, still holding the garbage can. The voice belonged to a male student I never had spoken with before. I'd seen him around a lot, though. His name was Tiyuzaki, Mikuni, from class 7. Watch your step. There's roots sticking out of the ground here, and it's pretty easy to trip on. Huh? What? Hey, what's the big idea laughing at someone else's misfortune? Well, it's not funny. Shouldn't you be asking if I'm okay or something? My bad. Oh, you don't have to help clean up. You'll get your hands dirty. Don't worry about it. It's the least I can do after laughing like that. Thanks. No problem. That should be everything, right? Yeah, looks like it. Cool, let's go then. Huh? I remember it well, even now. This was my first time talking to, and he left a strong impression on me. That's really kind of you, isn't it? Isn't it happy, though? Not especially. I am the one assigned to take it. Maybe I should... It's fine, really. There's everything in its place. Thank you so much. You were a huge help. Catch you around. Hey, hold up. I feel like I should do something nice for you in return. Don't worry about it. Your fix is plenty. Look, just wait a second out here, okay? Making a new friend is always great, but when it happens to be, it's all the better. He kind of been on my mind for a while. There we go. Most of the times I've been, I've seen him before this were in schoolyard. He spent a lot of time there, sitting alone on a bench. Even after school or during summer vacation, if I happened to pass by, I would always see him there. And after this little encounter, we go to make many fond memories together. Yet somehow the image of him that stands out most in my mind is of him seated alone on that courtyard bench. For you, I hope cafe au latte is alright. Sure, I guess. Anything's fine, really, thanks. You know, it's customary when receiving a gift to quietly accept it without any offhand remarks. Well, aren't we a snicker for a tradition? We walked to the bench together, sat down, and began making small talk. That courtyard bench was sort of a mystical place. The leaves rustled over your head, and if you closed your eyes and opened your ears, it felt as though you were in the middle of some forest. And then if you looked straight up, the sunlight poured in through the leaves, and you almost felt like you were in another world. This is the first time I've actually sat on one of these benches. It's pretty nice, right? It is. It's lovely. Yeah, it really is. Oh, so is it that way? Huh? Well, you came here an awful lot, right? Like even after school during summer vacation. I sure do. So you must really like this place then, huh? Yeah, I guess I do. Well, then, there we go. The leaf rustled as a gentle breeze blew between us. We were both silent for a bit, but strangely it didn't feel awkward or uncomfortable. So, aren't you going to ask? Ask what? What I'm always doing here by myself or something? You're always here because you like the spot, right? Well, yeah. Is some other reason then? Not really. So, what would be the point of me asking? Well, you got me there, but people normally ask me if it's boring being here by myself, or tell me they don't get it, or say I'm a weirdo or something. Really? I don't know. I guess I just don't think of it that way. The way I see it, if you like it here, then why not come here whenever you can? Guess it makes you the weirdo then. What? Hey, don't make that face. Coming from me, that's a compliment. What? Calling someone a weirdo is supposed to be a compliment? To me? Yeah, you bet it is. I'm not sure I buy that. You're mean. The expression on Tuzaki's face was a dead giveaway that he really enjoyed talking to me. And I've always loved the feeling I get when I know my words helped brighten someone's day. I must have been sporting one hell of a goofy smile at that moment. Actually, there's a place at the school that I like even more than here. Oh? Where's that? I'm not telling. What? It's my special place. Which means it must be a totally awesome place, right? Yep. Oh, I really want to see it. Come on. No way, I can't spill the beans that easy. Besides, the view here isn't nearly as consistent. Laughing, he finished up his drink, then grabbed the now empty trash can he carried to the dumpster for me. He treated me to coffee, so please allow me to take this up to the classroom for you. What? Are you sure? You bet. Thanks. I'm in class 4, if I'm not mistaken. You're the famous you, after all. Huh? How did you? You're that girl who already looks like she could be a teacher. I don't think there's a student in any of our 12 classes who doesn't know your name. What? From then on, Tiyuzaki and I met in that courtyard many times. We didn't really talk in the halls, but something about that place spurred our conversation. Cafe or latte again? Yep. Doesn't that get a little old? Not really. You drink at least 2 a day, though, right? Hey, how'd you know that? Seen with my own eyes. There's a perfect view of the vending machine from here after all. There is? Yeah, I mean, it's right there. Oh wow, no kidding. Doesn't matter if it's after school or summer break, Shiryu's buying cafe or latte is like Old Faithful. You could set your watch by it. Well, then I guess we're even, since I always see you sitting on this bench. What? You're back on that again. Sure am. I guess I just find it interesting that we both both took notice of each other's quirky habits. Weirdo. Our conversations in the courtyard were usually just silly. Oh, so this is the guy who she was talking about before. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I'm like, who is this guy? It's him! Duh! It was like talking to a good friend in class, shallow but gently enjoyable. It was always so cool here, even in the summer. Don't mention the summer. You don't like it? Not with summer school right around the corner. That'd be enough to make anyone run for the hills. I guess so, but we're seniors now. It comes with the territory, you know? The time for fun is over. I think that's what she said. I don't know. I see it too fast. I don't know. You seem like you were still having a lot of fun to me. Well, I'm a bit of a special case. I'm just happy because I feel like my dream might actually come true. Oh? I just enjoy teaching things to people and having others depend on me. Why is that? I guess it makes me feel like a big sister or something, since I'm an only child, you know. Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that then. Wow, that was a dismissive, that was about as dismissive a comment as you can get. Hey, not like I can do anything about it, you know? Despite his occasional, boorishness, I still felt that he was a kind soul. If nothing else, he never actually laughed at my dream. And in a high school crowd, most people don't take you very seriously when you say you're trying to become a teacher. He just wasn't like most people, I guess. The season was quickly turning to autumn. After the school day ended, the senior floor was always a lot more quiet than its underclassmen counterparts. Everyone was off studying hard at the library or tutors. So one day, thinking no one else was around, I sat down in a lonely corner of the hallway. Intuitively, I had grabbed my shoes and left the classroom, intending to head home, but along the way I started crying. I was overwhelmed. My sobs echoed from the end of the hall to the other. That day, I finally received a special recommendation to my top choice university. I was so excited, I wanted to tell someone, so I told my friend Tomi, but her actually supportive demeanor took on somewhat harsher edge. Quit rubbing it in my face. You know I'm still totally undecided about my future, right? My expression must have changed pretty drastically. Tomo's eyes suddenly widened and she quickly apologized. So I smiled and told her I didn't care. That's what I said anyway. But how couldn't I care? Tomi's dismissive words struck me like a dagger to my chest. I'm so sensitive sometimes. Yeah, that was pretty mean though. Like, you're just trying to tell her your dream and she has to be mean? Like, come on, man. At least she apologized. I wonder if everyone else feels the same about me. Hey, buddy, it's okay. She's probably just jealous that you have your dream all laid out and, you know, she doesn't. I kept wiping the tears from my eyes, only for new ones to take their place immediately. Why didn't I think of this sooner? So many people were still facing uncertain futures with no real goals in mind, and I was completely oblivious to it. Like, you're still allowed to talk about your achievements. Like, no one else should make you feel bad for that. I was the one with a dream, running around like the cock of the walk and blabbing about my sex and aspirations. I didn't really think so. I wouldn't blame them if they hated me. I would. Could someone that insensitive to the feelings of so many other people become a teacher? Did I ever even have what it takes to begin with? I quickly turned toward the voice that had called out to me and found him standing there. We never said a word before when passing each other in the hall, but he spoke to me that day with no reservations, as if we were old chums. Chusaka? I always say his name weirdly. Your face is a mess. Do you have a handkerchief? Yeah. Then wipe your face. Okay. His concern and confusion was clearly written on his face. I didn't want to cause him any trouble or worry him, so I began frantically wiping my eyes. Did something happen? No, everything's fine. You're crying an awful lot for someone who's got no problem. No, it's just that there was a little misunderstanding between a friend and I. But we patched it up right away, so it's alright, really. These are, you know, something like tears of happiness, I guess. Yep, see, I just found out I got that recommendation. I'm not sure if I did it out of respect for him or just because I wanted to change the subject, but I cut myself off mid-sentence. I was doing it again. What was I thinking? Now even he was going to hate me for being a braggart. Well, I hated myself. Hell, I hated myself. I was the worst, just the worst. But... Whoa, really? He was really happy for me? A bit taken back, I nodded firmly. You did it then! Congratulations! Oh, he's so sweet. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So what's with the waterworks? Even with the recommendation, you still have to take the entrance exam, right? Yeah. So it isn't a little early to be crying tears of joy? Yeah, maybe so. I'm just really happy that you congratulated me. Oh, come on now. Sorry. For what? For crying like this without even knowing why. If you didn't know why you're doing it, then how about you hurry up and dry those eyes? Sure, I think I'm fine now anyway. I swear. As I rubbed my swollen eyes, a smile broke through and he let out an aspirated sigh. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, his eyes lit up. Hey, wait here a sec. Okay. He ran into the classroom, quickly reappearing in the hall again just moments later. He was holding something. Here, I want you to have this. A pencil? In this outstretched hand rested a short, stubby little pencil, not the sort of thing you expect someone to go out of their way to lend you. It was poked here and there with small scratches, but it was still seemed to be in relatively decent shape considering how obviously well worn it was. A pencil for guaranteed success. Guaranteed success? Use it on your test and you'll pass for sure. What? Really? Yep, they told me I'd never pass the entrance exam for Kuzuyaki Academy, but well, here I am, and I owe it all to this pencil. So this is the same pencil you're using back then when you took your high school application test. Sure is. It really jerked out a miracle. I assume you mean worked out a miracle, right? That's a thing either. Yeah, that. At any rate, I shall happily take you on your kind offer, thanks. But listen, I'm only lending it to you until you finish your test. You'll have to give it back afterwards, so I can use it for my entrance exams. Okay. And whatever you do, don't fail the exam. Right. Hold on. I'll be right back. There's the pencil. I took the pencil and nodded, smiling. This time, he returned my smile. You're a really unique person, you know that? It's hard to believe how much you let other people's problems get to you. You'll make an amazing teacher. What? For a moment I had no idea what he was talking about, but then it hit me. He had somehow sussed out from our conversation that I was crying because I upset Tomi. And he was turning that fact around to offer me encouragement. Good luck, don't let it get to you. Oh. I had heard you shouldn't wish someone's luck in times of stress, as if it just adds more pressure. That's why people tell actors to break a leg instead. But I didn't care. Taboo or no. I cherished his kind words. I'll do my best. Glad to hear it. That's when I really started to fall for him. But it didn't seem like he noticed, and there wasn't really any indication that he felt the same way anyway. I can still clearly recall the events of that day even now. It was October, the day before my entrance exam. The weather outside had been miserable since morning, and visibly was all but non-existent. It would be a bad omen if I were to slip and fall on the day before the exam, so I decided to wear boots to school just to be safe. See you later! Huh? What the heck? Oh my goodness, it's like I'm from Danganronpa. I forgot his name. I'm kidding. When I opened the door, I was shocked to see a white-haired old woman. Oh, it's a woman. Never mind. Was lying on the ground, soaked to the bone. I frantically rushed over to her side. Are you okay? Old woman. Stay with me. Come on, tell me. What happened? What? Was it a hit and run? The road running by a house was narrow and mostly used by only our neighbors. But it's not like it was closed off to outside traffic or anything, so a hit and run wasn't out of the question. I looked over the old woman's body as best as I could. Fortunately, there was no signs of any serious injury. Doesn't seem like a car accident, or at least. Young lady. Yes? You must not go to school today. What? You absolutely must not go. Huh? The old woman raised herself up slightly and spoke hoarsely from the tone in her voice. She seemed terribly desperate. But I have to. Today's my last chance to practice for a college entrance interview. No, just stay home. Don't go. I have to go. The interview is a part of the exam. I'm worse at. Please tell me what's wrong. Where's your family? Will you go no matter what? Yeah. In that case, please. Not knowing what to say, I nodded apprehensively as the old woman began digging through her pocket. She produced what looked to be a crumpled scrap of paper. As she was digging around, I noticed that her breathing had become dangerously ragged and began considering my options to assist her. Really, I should have gone back to the house and called my mom, but there was something about her that kept me glued to the spot. I sensed desperation hiding in that unbroken gaze. You must take this. What was it? A charm. A charm? The old woman clutched my wrist and forcefully pressed the scrap of paper to my palm. Tilting my head, I folded the scrap and looked carefully at it. Is it that one charm we did in the beginning? At first I thought I'd just been handed a piece of trash. What? When I unfolded it all the way, I saw that it was actually a paper doll. Yep, in the shape of a human being. And there was a name written on its torso. You. Yes, my name, written plain as day, in easy legible brushstrokes. Why is my name on it? So it can protect you. Huh? If you don't write the name of the person you wish to protect, the charm won't work. Crazy. This is all crazy. I didn't understand any of it, save for one simple fact. This old woman was here specifically to give me this strange paper charm. As far as I was aware, we were totally strangers to one another, but she clearly knew both my name and my address. No. I'm sorry. I know you came a long way to give me this, but I don't want it. You don't want it? As I extended my arm to return the paper doll, I could sense her entire demeanor had changed. She raised her body and unsteadily from the wet asphalt. Oh no. Why not? Well, I've nearly killed myself bringing this to you. Why will no one listen to me? Huh? You must not enter Heavenly Host Elementary without this charm. Heavenly Host Elementary? Yes, you must not go. Don't go. As the old woman cried out, the paper doll fluttered lightly on the ground, to the ground. Almost instantly, it became soaked through with rainwater, and my name began to run and quickly turned into a legible black smudge. Seeing this, the old woman grabbed it and tore at her hair. No, the charm, the way out has been lost. Ma'am, please calm down. Listen, you must not go to Heavenly House Elementary. I think there's been some mistake. My school is, Hirazaki Academy High. I've never heard of Heavenly Host Elementary. Ma'am! Oh god! Mom, come quick! What's wrong? An old woman collapsed in front of our house. Call an ambulance. Okay. Paramedics arrived in a matter of minutes. The old woman seemed to be unconscious by that point. However, the EMTs brought out a stretcher. Do either of you know this woman? No, she just collapsed in front of our house. We've never seen her before. Alright. Would you be willing to ride with her in the ambulance? The idea of making this old woman go to the hospital by herself seemed like it would have been a shameful thing to do. Sure, she was a stranger, but we had a lengthy conversation mere minutes before, so I couldn't very well say we had nothing to do with one another. You need to get to school. What? But don't worry, I'll go with her to the hospital. You have to practice for the interview today, right? Yeah, I guess I do. Thanks, Mom. I'll leave her with you then. Good luck. I was a little hesitant, but I knew I really had to go to school today, no matter what. So I left the strange woman in my mom's care and heading towards school, walked right by her stretcher. Yeah. Suddenly, a hand rose from the limp form of the old woman and grabbed my skirt. Startled, I tried to jump away, but found myself ensnared by her terrible bloodshot eyes. You must not go. After school once, my final practice interview had concluded, I reunited with my friends and engaged with the usual regimen of gossip and small talk. Can you believe that? That's really scary. What the hell was wrong with her? When I described the events of that morning, everyone's eyebrows rose. They were hanging on my every word and yelping in unison at key moments. Maybe you should have stayed home after all. Well, but I had to practice had to have that practice interview. I couldn't miss that, you know. I just hope nothing bad happens. Oh, come on. What could happen? Oh, you know what? When you mentioned Heavenly Host Elementary, I thought I sounded familiar, but and I just realized why. You know those 7 wonders, right? 7 wonders? You mean those urban legends about Kisaragi? Yeah, those. Does Heavenly House Elementary have some connection to them? One of the stories is called Yoshi After School. Ever heard of it? Definitely not. I've heard of it. I haven't heard of it either. I've never heard of it either. What's it about? Well, it takes place at Heavenly Host Elementary, which once occupied the same plot of land where Kisaragi Elementary now stands. Ooh, okay. It said that one day after school, a female teacher who had been patrolling the grounds slipped and fell down the stairs and died. The accident took place on a rainy October day just like this one and occurred just after 7 at night. And supposedly Yoshi still appeared on days like this. Everyone aware that she died at Heavenly House these many years ago, she now walks the halls at Kishiari Academy, believing them to be her own. Oh, come on, no. Is it true? Well, it wouldn't be one of the 7 wonders if it hadn't actually seen it happen, right? That's really creepy. Why don't you head home? You're the only one who doesn't live nearby, so we can't walk with you, and given the stuff that old woman said to you, yeah, it's always best to head home to heed the warnings of the elderly. You might be right. I'm still feeling kind of on edge. Probably best I go home and check in with Mom. I'll see you guys later, then bye. See ya! Take care. Give it everything you got tomorrow. I will. Then she dies. I'm just kidding. She can't. I quickly packed my things and rushed out of the classroom. It was already about 5. It was getting dark out, but before Kana's story was about to be believed, I had until 7 before everything bad might happen. As I continued wending way down the corridor, I just kept telling myself there's nothing to be afraid of. Even so, I felt like it took an extra long time to reach the shoe lockers. Man, I'm such a scaredy cat. Oh, hey! Heading home? Yep. What's with the big grin? It's nothing. Hey, why don't we walk together, at least part of the way? Sure, I don't mind. Great! When I looked at his face, my fear vanished, but for a moment, these are the times when it's really nice to have boys around, I thought. I felt as though as long as he was by my side, nothing bad would happen. It didn't hurt that I had a crush on him, of course. The rain had let up since that morning, though it was still coming down. The two of us walked side by side, umbrellas held high. He was walking and laughing excitedly the whole time, whereas I probably came off as preoccupied. I'm sure it was awkward. A vague sense of fear flickered inside me, and it was making me extraordinarily self-conscious. I'm certain it must have been reflected in my behavior. You look kind of pale. Did something happen? Hey, it's still raining. Yeah, something scary happened. Something scary? I probably seemed really on edge. He was staring at me with this look of abject concern on his face. I was a little relieved that he'd asked, though it felt good to tell him about what happened, though. I filled in on all the details and explained how they related to Kana's ghost story. I did my absolute best to convey the dread I was feeling. But he was, well, the 7 wonders of Kishiaki High, huh? Yeah. So you actually believe in that stuff. Sometimes I wish I could see the world through your eyes. What? You don't think it's scary? It's weird, sure, but I wouldn't call it scary, and I wouldn't worry about what that old woman said to you. I'm sure it's just coincidence. But wouldn't it be better not to dwell on it either way? I mean, yeah, your encounter with her sounds like it was kind of unsettling, but she was probably just a little off, you know? That's not the issue here. Huh? I wasn't asking you to solve my problems for me. Look, I just wanted to vent, okay? I just wanted you to listen. What do you mean? That's what I've been doing. No, not like that. I don't get it. Are you angry about something? Guys always do this. Yeah, you're right. They do. It varies person to person, of course, but guys invariably jump right into looking for solutions to your problems or giving advice on what to do. You are absolutely correct. This is the correct quartz party could it ever be. As a result, girls often can't be totally honest with them, or don't want to be, or at any rate, are just forced to bottle up their feelings. No, because a lot of times when people vent, sometimes it's just a vent. You don't always want a solution. You just want to vent your frustrations, and not really... Sometimes a solution is nice, but typically you just want to say how you feel. I only wanted him to share in some sort of fear, in some of my fears, if he were scared of me. That would have been enough. I didn't realize then that he was telling me not to worry was his way of showing concern. I just thought he was brushing me off. Frankly, that annoyed me. My mind flashed back over and over again to the face, the eyes, and the hoarse voice of that old woman. Amplified and distorted by the ghost story, these images gradually darkened my mood. Maybe I was traumatized by the events I experienced, maybe I was just frustrated and needed to lash out. I don't know. But for the first time ever, things had become decently uncomfortable between the two of us. Okay, well, this is me. Right. He called out my name as I briskly walked away. I didn't really know why I was so angry or confused, but I did notice that his voice was tinged with concern. If anything should happen, feel free to contact me. Give him back his pencil. I considered turning back for a second, but changed my mind and rushed forward in a huff, leaving him behind. I'm home. You, welcome back. Greeting me at the door, my mother wore a somber expression. I could tell right away that something had happened. I stared at her with scrunched eyebrows for an awkwardly long time before she eventually reluctantly opened her mouth to speak. About that old woman from this morning. Yeah? The hospital contacted me. She passed away a short while ago. No. Was she the girl who became the little girl in the thing? I don't know. Because, like, well, how could she be a little girl? I don't know. But, yeah, because I don't think they explained how she died. That I remember. I'm so sorry. You need to stay focused on tomorrow's exam right now, though. Yeah. We should put this unpleasantness behind us. I'm getting dinner started now, so how about you go get changed? Okay, I'll be in my room. I'll call you. I watched my mom work her way back to the kitchen, then rigged out of my shoes. My mood had darkened even more. His attitude was bad enough, but for that old woman to have died, returning to my room, I couldn't muster the energy to do anything but collapse into my chair and sprawl out on the desk. You must not go! She fell asleep. The last thing the old woman had said to me echoed again and again in my mind. I began wishing I had taken her more seriously. I should have said to the paper doll and thanked her. I should have reassured her I wouldn't go to Heavenly Host Elementary. I mean, the place didn't even exist anymore, for goodness sakes. I was exhausted. It was a hell of a day, and I no longer had the energy to move. I needed to change out of my school clothes, but still sprawled out over my desk, my eyelids dropped and closed. I was out. Your room is cute. I woke up at the start. The air in my room had gotten noticeably cooler, and I was shivering. I must have fallen asleep. Rubbing my eyes, I glanced at my clock, and the needles indicated it was 6:45. It's already this late? It was black outside my window, streaked with the lines from the still pouring rain. Sure, hope it's sunny tomorrow. Sunny for my exam. The weight of what the next day held for me came rushing into my mind. I practiced the interview process with my teachers quite thoroughly, but I was still really nervous. Okay, I need to make sure I'm ready for tomorrow. There was still a little time before dinner. My mind swimming, I decided to take this opportunity to clean out all my notes and textbooks I wouldn't need tomorrow for my bag. Let's see, student ID needs to stay, obviously, handkerchief and tissues. Gotta make sure I don't forget my exam ticket. Oh, and my pencil case. Huh? Oh crap, where's my pencil case? Did I leave it at school? My face suddenly went pale. Really, I shouldn't have been too concerned over writing implements. We had tons at home. But that case held the pencil that he had given to me for guaranteeing success on my exam. I had to get it. Go get it. And something bad's gonna happen. Hey Mom, I forgot something at school, so I'm going to run back for a sec. What? But dinner's almost ready. That's okay, I'll come right home. Alright, it's still raining though, so be careful. I will. That pencil was one thing I absolutely needed to bring with me to the test, and so without hesitation I ran back down the road to the school. I was sprinting as close to full speed as I could get without slipping into the downpour. All the while the numbers on my bedroom clock ran through my mind. 6:45. And if Kana's story had to be believed, Yoshiki hunted the school building at 7. As soon as I arrived at the gate, I glanced up at the large clock adoring the schoolhouse. It was 6:55. Yoshiki after school. I went over the whole scenario in my head again, as best as I could recall it. After classes on a rainy day in October is 7 at night. Did that old woman somehow know this would happen? Get a hold of yourself. It's still some old campfire tale. I was talking to myself, reprimanding myself in an effort to quell the fear that was welling up in the pit of my stomach. There wasn't a soul to be seen on the grounds, but by this time the students had all gone home. I wondered if any teachers were still around. Fortunately, the lights were all still on, and it was bright enough that I felt confident I could make it to the classroom without freaking out. Okay, I'll just run up, grab the case, then right back down. I folded my soaked umbrella and left it on the rack by the entrance, then changed into my indoor shoes. Then entering the brightly lit hall, I took another look around. Guess I was right, nobody's home. My deep sigh echoed through the deathly silent corridor. Ordinarily, the din of the other students would drown out noises like this, but every little sound was coming through crystal clear at this late hour. I need to hurry, it's almost 7. I nervously sauntered towards classroom 3-4, picking up speed as it occurred to me to do so. About that old woman from this morning. She passed away a short while ago. I said that one day after school, a female teacher had been controlling the grounds. My goodness. Slipped, fell down the stairs, and died. The accident took place on a rainy October day, just like this one, and occurred at 7 at night. And supposedly Yoshiki still appears on days like this. Everyone aware that she died at Heavenly Host these many years ago, she now walks the halls of Yoshiki Academy, believing them to be her own. Geez, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I letting this bother me so much? He was right. I shouldn't dwell on this. Finally, flash and thunder resound with impeccable timing. I jumped in spite of myself. I just need to hurry up these stairs, grab the pencil case, and get the hell out of this creepy building. No ghosts should show up in a well-lit building like this, right? And even if they did, they wouldn't be very scary after all these bright lights. I absolutely need that pencil for tomorrow. It's my good luck charm, after all, and it's from... I picked up the pace as I continued to head straight for the room 3-4. Middle school's already pitch black. I guess there is no one else around right now. And this hall feels longer than it ever has before. Was it always like this? I can't imagine it ever been on time if I were. I continued my brisk walk down the impossible long hallway towards my goal, jumping every now and again whenever another thunderclap sounded. It was comprised of both middle school and high school, and this evening it really felt like it was flaunting its massive size. It didn't help that my classroom was in the high school wing, which happened to be past the middle school, making it seem that much farther away. Whenever a building that's usually so full of life goes completely quiet, it becomes such a lonely place. I swear I can hear every drop of rain. I was focusing on the scant few sounds around me as I paced down that long, lonely corridor. Then all of a sudden, I heard a faint noise as of someone playing an organ. That was just my imagination, right? I mean, it had to be. There's no way someone would still be here practicing, right? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. It was probably the sounds of the rain, wind, and thunder mixing together. It just sounded like an organ, that's all. I was convinced. I kept walking. But then, I heard the same noise again. This time much more clearly. It was unmistakable. No way! I was paralyzed with fear. My heart was pounding as if I were struggling to break free of someone's sinister grip. It's probably just some devoted member of the band or a teacher who's working late. I'm just being stupid. Thinking about it, I vaguely recalled someone mentioning an upcoming performance by the Wind Instrument Club. I guess an organ would qualify. Someone must have stayed late to practice, that's all. I can't get that damn ghost story out of my head. I took another deep breath and tried again to calm my overly jittery nerves. Anything to be scary, think of it? Oh crap, I keep skipping. And my imagination is most definitely running wild. I'm almost there. Might as well sprint the rest of the way. I decided to dash toward my classroom so I could get out of this hall as quickly as possible. Finally reaching the familiar door, I swiftly opened it and flicked on the lights. Alright, I made it. Now I just have to be absolutely certain that I don't leave here without that pen case again. Thanks to all my unexpected pauses to freak out over thunder and lightning, it took me far longer than it should have to get here. It was already past 7. 7 o'clock, huh? It was the appointed time when the ghost of the teacher was supposed to appear at least, according to the school legend. No undead educators here. I let a bit of a sigh of relief and relaxed my shoulders a bit. The lights were on both inside the classroom and out in the hallway. Sure, it was still dead silent, but the fear I'd been feeling had completely melted away. Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. The seven wonders aren't real. Goodness. I grabbed the pen case. Oh my goodness. Okay, mission accomplished. With my long ordeal behind me, more or less, I looked around the classroom and let out another sigh. I'd only ever known this classroom when it was busting with activity, and thus found its eerie silence and utter stillness to be oddly fascinating. Such a strange feeling, being alone in a classroom like this. I got the idea in my head to try doing something I normally wouldn't be able to, like standing at the teacher's podium and writing on the blackboard. Chances like this don't come around too often, after all. To me, the area behind that podium from which teachers conduct their lessons like a scared space. I dreamed of standing there myself one day, and I could hardly resist just its pull, then resented with a rare opportunity like this. Well, no one's looking. To my classmates, this would seem like a silly, stupid dilemma, but this didn't change the way I felt at that moment. Should I or shouldn't I? Let's stand. How can I pass this up? It's a chance to feel like a real teacher. I decided to try it. During daily cleanup and such, I'd come and gone from the spot countless times. But this was the first time I ever had an opportunity just to stand here and preside over the classroom. So, this is how it looks to be a teacher, huh? It's kind of inspiring. Getting a teacher's point of view, in the most literal sense, was starting to get me really fired up. It may seem silly now, but this was my stage. This was where all my dreams would pay off. Someday. I began to imagine the future that awaited me. Painstakingly detailing some new piece of knowledge for students sitting attentively at their desks. Gliding chalk across the board, filling it with information to aid them in their studies. Sure hope I can make the cut on one of these days. I was getting so excited that even I began to think my behavior was a little strange. Maybe it was of these joyous, freeing visions and the prickling dread I've been feeling up until a minute or two before. But then, in the blink of an eye, one of those two conflicting emotions completely overpowered the other. Oh, crap! It's a blackout. Suddenly, my surroundings were bathed in darkness. Going stiff with shock, I stumbled back a step. My back struck the blackboard with a dull thud. What an awful timing! I instinctively grabbed hold on the rail where the eraser sat. I felt chalk dust against my fingertips. I panicked. My panicked heartbeat was making it difficult to breathe. Was this caused by the thunderstorms? If so, it sure picked a fine time to turn the lights out on me. And what's more, I can still hear the sounds of the organ. But no, it's an electric organ. How is that even possible with no power? You must not go! Was this what the old lady was trying to warn me about? That's impossible. She was no fortune teller or psychic. As far as I was aware, how could she possibly have known this would happen? Hell, even if she were a fortune teller or a psychic, predicting the future is the stuff of science fiction. I shook my head. I need to calm down. Maybe it's just this wing that lost power, and the music room is still okay. That seems plausible, right? I curled my chalk dust fingers into a fist and silently tried to talk some sense to myself. I've got to get out of here. I shouldn't have been playing teacher. I should have been in and out by now. Curious, cursing myself a little, I fumbled my way through the darkened classroom. I spent so much time in here, you'd think I'd be able to find my way out of it with my eyes closed, as if it were. But sadly, that wasn't the case. Smashing loudly into a desk, I knocked it on its side, and it began trembling after it, instinctively grabbing the other desks around me for support. Oof. Damn it. Sounds like I knocked a lot of stuff out of that desk. Guess I need to put everything back. Still fumbling around blindly, I gathered all the scattered notes, textbooks, and writing utensils. I can't tell what. It's so embarrassing. What the heck am I doing anyway? Wasn't I supposed to be hurrying home? Such a klutz. She dropped the pencil, didn't she? She lost it. Let out a sigh. I seem to be doing a lot lately. Okay, this is a textbook and this is a notebook, right? I was trying to take inventory of all the things I knocked out of the desk and then realized why I might as well just stand up and stuff it all back in. I couldn't possibly organize it properly in absolute darkness. Better just apologize tomorrow to whoever sits here. Not that, okay. Spending what I've done wouldn't be easy, and no matter how I sugarcoated it, it would serve as a clear indication of my clumsiness. If I didn't say anything, it's not like I'd be found out, but that wouldn't be the same as lying, as far as I'm concerned, and I could do that. Okay, I think I got everything. I placed my hand against the floor and swept it around, feeling for anything I might have missed. And I found something alright. Ew, gross, what is this? All slimy. Ugh. Clearly brushed my fingers across something, but I had no idea what. It was no notebook or writing implement, though that's for sure. Why did everybody have something like this in their desk? Maybe it had been on the floor all along. What is this stuff? I rubbed my sticky fingertips a bit deeper into the wet spot. Ew! Then brought my hand up to my face so I could get a better look at what was there. What on earth did I just touch? There was a flash of lightning, almost immediately, joined by a roaring thunderclap. And with it was, for a split second, the pitch black classroom was lit up as bright as day. Yuck! God, is that blood? I shot to my feet, utterly mortified. In that split second, I got a very good look at my fingers, and it really did seem as if they were covered in blood. But it wasn't just my hand, no, my peripheral vision, were to be trusted. It looked like the entire classroom was stained deep, dark crimson. Crap, it kind of smells like blood in here, too. Without thinking, I backed away from where I had been crouching. I tried rationalizing what I saw. How could a whole classroom become a bloodbath like this? Did something spill? Did someone stumble in here injured? This is impossible. It can't be. I mean, how? My whole body was quaking. I fled from the classroom. Or rather, I tried to flee. But why won't open? No, please, no! I remember locking it, and it isn't locked, so why can't I get it open? I pulled on the door handle again and again in a frenzy. I was pulling so hard, it felt like my fingernails might tear loose. But it just wouldn't bulge. Why, please? I was absent-mindedly grabbing at my hair with one hand and slammed my fist on a nearby desk with the other. This was a nightmare. Please, no, what was going on? Silence saturated the inky blackness of the roof. I took several deep breaths in an effort to restrain my pounding heart. Calm down, I have to calm down. I'm probably just panicking because the door won't open. I'm sure I just misidentified whatever that is on the floor. I mean, it's preposterous, right? There's no way something like this could be. I was certain that when I saw what it actually was, come morning, it ended up being something totally random, like some old soda-stained gym clothes. That has to be it, yeah. I probably just brushed against somebody's paint for art class or something. My imagination was just running wild because I was panicking. And the door probably just has something caught in it, that's all. I decided to check out that hypothesis by feeling my way across the door and determining if anything was jutting out from any of the cracks. Damn, not sure if I can do this without being able to see. I fumbled around the gaps in the door, but I just couldn't make anything out that would be doing this, and the classroom's rear exit seemed a world away. Maybe there's another way out of here. No, this is the third floor. I couldn't get out of this classroom without exiting into the hallway. Let me out. I went out! Still at loss, I noticed a sudden flash of light through the hallway window. But the glass was only translucent, so I couldn't be sure of its source. Is somebody out there? Then there came the distinctive clump, clump, clump of footsteps. Oh, of course, it must be the custodian. I recalled the existence of a custodian who always patrolled the school grounds. I was sure he must have been taking a look around at this sudden power outage. Great, I'm saved! All at once, my fear-addled legs regained their strength. This nightmare would soon be over. Excuse me! I shouted to the custodian through the window as loudly as I could muster. Excuse me, I'm trapped in here. I had to be sure he heard me. I shouted again. Finally, I could see the light out in the hallway again, and it seemed to be getting closer. However, something's not right about this. Perturbed, I cannot speak, can I? I took a step away from the window. If that's a flashlight, wouldn't it be brighter? It kind of looks like the faint, utterly, unearthly glow, classically, attributed to spirits. What was I thinking? I tried to stop myself from finishing that thought, however. Dullness aside, it also looked like it was wriggling around in an unnatural, very unflashlight-like way. And these footsteps. Clomp, clomp, clomp. 4 clomps. Then 3. Or so second interval. Then another 4 clomps. They were sounding in a fixed rhythm. That's no custodian. Nobody walks like that. The fear was back in full force. I had to find somewhere to hide. What if I suddenly summoned something inhuman? I mean, whatever that was, I begged for help. I literally invited it in. I need to hide, but where? I'm gonna say the teacher's podium, but I feel like they might get us, but let's see. I hurriedly myself beneath the teacher's podium. I grabbed my knees, curled up, and made myself as small as I could. What is this? What's happening? The footsteps continued to draw nearer and nearer. Clump, 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 clump. Little by little, the sound grew louder. Every hair in my body was standing on the end. Please, just pass by, please. I held my breath, clasped my hands together, and silently prayed. Clump, 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 clump. They were close now, very, very close. Please, God. Why was this happening? I couldn't make any sense of it. I just wanted it to be over. I prayed to God that it would end. What was this old woman trying to warn me about? Was this all happening because I ignored her? Because I didn't take the paper doll from her? Was this because I'd heard the ghost story of Yoshi and allowed it to get to me? Or did the strange events of the day have nothing to do with what was happening to me now? It feels like my heart is going to burst out of my chest. I'm still holding my breath. I didn't dare let even the tiniest sound escape and give away my position. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. The constant rhythm of the footsteps suddenly ended halfway into one of the cycles. And it had ended right in front of this very classroom. I had goosebumps up and down my arms and legs. I stopped praying and clasped my hands over my mouth. I knew I'd scream if I didn't. Couldn't this be Yoshi? Was the school legend real? All I could do was close my eyes, keep my mouth shut, and hope that whatever this was, would just go away. But the footsteps sounds didn't start again. If this was indeed Yoshi, then she'd stop in front of the classroom and was just standing there. I had no concept of time anymore. I stayed in my hiding spot for what was probably only a few minutes. It felt like at least an hour. Maybe whoever it was is gone. I decided to carefully peek out from under the podium. I generally edged my head out just far enough to get a glimpse of the room when suddenly the footsteps rang out once more. It sounded like they were heading right for me, and they might have been inside the room. I honestly couldn't tell. I scrambled back into my hiding spot and covered my mouth with both hands. This was too much for me. My breathing was coarse and erratic, and my face was a mess of tears and snot. God, please save me. I was inconsolable. The footsteps just wouldn't stop. What on earth were they doing? It almost seemed like they were running around in circles just to scare me. Stop, please, just stop it. Please stop it. I mouthed these words over and over again, and I moved my hands to my ears in vain to attempt to block out the torturous sound. And as if in response, the sound changed. It was loud, dull thud, allowed by silence. No more footsteps. I'd heard the sound hundreds of times before. It was the classroom door sliding open. I peeked out, but the door was still tightly shut. How could that be? If the sound I heard wasn't the door, then what was it? What little safety I'd felt there was pretty much gone, but to be fair, I wasn't actually certain the spirit has seen or heard me either. The prospect of stepping out into the open wasn't a desirable one, but I had to decide if it was better to stay where I was and make a break for it. Let's do a break for it. Staying in one place for too long seemed like it would be inviting trouble, so I took a deep breath and reluctantly crawled out as quietly as I could, but almost immediately I felt something. Tap. Something had long and thin had struck me in the back of the head. Or perhaps struck isn't the right word. There was a little force behind it, but it wasn't a hard slam, more like someone trying to get my attention. Is that a wooden rod? Oh no. Or no, it's a finger. I knew I wouldn't like what I was going to see, but I had to face whatever it was, so I turned around, and there, looming over me was somebody here? Go home, child. A figure was peering down at me from above the podium with one wishbone-like finger extended toward my face. I recognized this person instantly, no doubt about it. It was a strange old woman who supposedly passed away earlier. I was scared out of my mind. I tumbled the rest of the way from under the podium and shot to my feet. A ghost? There really was a ghost in the school. My breathing was ragged, and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. Plowing through the dust in my way, I ran as fast as I could toward the classroom door. But that was as far as I could go. What's wrong? There's one on the other side of the door. Tight up against the glass was the old woman. She was glowing bluish white, the source of the light from earlier. But how in the world did she get to the door before I did, and how did she get out of the room so quickly and position herself so perfectly to block my exit? I felt like I was starting to hyperventilate and tried as best I could to calm my breathing as my eyes darted about the room. I needed to get out of here now, but to get as far away from this place as I possibly could. If the front door is blocked, maybe I can get out through the back. But if I do that, I can't leave the school without running right past her. There's no way she'd let me, but I have to do something. I bit my lip and continued scanning the room. If I just had something I could use to fight back. I didn't have time to think carefully about it. I just had to grab something and hope for the best. There were two choices. I had to pick one on impulse before it was too late. Broom, bag of salt. This looks like leftover salt from an old chemistry experiment. I heard that salt was used in purification rituals, so it seemed like a natural choice. Okay, this is coming with me. I placed the salt in my pocket as some sort of protection charm. I'm scared, but, well, here goes nothing. When I looked over, the spirit of the old woman was holding out her hand from the other side of the door frame. She really was trying to catch me. I wasn't just being paranoid. She was going to kill me and turn me into a ghost like her. I was convinced this had to be Yoshi, the teacher from the urban legend. No, I won't let her see me. Bracing myself, I darted toward the door at the back end of the classroom. There wasn't a moment to lose. If I didn't act fast, I probably wouldn't be able to act at all. I threw the door open and just began running at top speed, hoping to escape behind the spirit's back. Unsurprisingly, trying to outrun a ghost proved to be a fruitless endeavor. The spirit saw me and moved at breakneck speed to intercept. Stop! Don't come any closer. I thrust my hand into my pocket and ripped through a bag of salt and threw the entire thing directly at the old woman's face. She recoiled. That was my chance. I ran down the hall as fast as my legs could carry me, briefly glancing over my shoulder after a moment to confirm that the spirit was still writhing. I just kept running down that dark hallway with nothing but adrenaline and mortal fear to keep me going. I reached the stairwell at the end of the hall and made a dash toward ground level. I was determined to get out of this building alive. Stop! Finally, still moving at top speed, I reached the window door leading outside. Almost there. I'm almost out. Luckily, the malevolent spirit hadn't caught up to me yet. It actually seemed like I might be able to escape. I might actually survive this. I made it! I grabbed the handle and tried pulling it. Huh? No, it's not opening. Why? Why, I'm so close! Please help me, I'm begging you. I have to think of something else. At this rate, that horrible woman's going to... No, I can't let that happen. But what do I do? What can I do? Break the glass. Oh, hey. Putting my thoughts in order, I came to some realization that I was right near the umbrella racks. Unless the spirit had taken it or something, my umbrella should have still been right here. I'd left it. Here it is. I practically tackled the rack, grabbing the umbrella in one swift motion, not from the handle, mind you, but from the top. Then, taking aim at the glass part of the door, I swung as hard as I could, smacking it dead center with a sturdy plastic handle. The glass wasn't going to break so easily, of course, but it did crack, giving the impetus I needed to go in for a second hit. Damn you, break! Break! Again and again, I struck the glass. I had the umbrella gripped so tightly that the metal skeleton of the canopy was leaving indentations in my skin. I was sure there had to be a better way of doing this, but I didn't have the luxury of time to figure out what might have been. Stop! You must not leave! She's not coming this way! She's coming this way! I began smacking the glass even harder, even faster. My hands were killing me, but this was my only hope of survival. Finally, after far too much effort, yes, I did it! The glass shattered onto the floor, making one hell of a sound. Tepid air whooshed from outside. It was still pouring rain, but I was free now. Free to escape this hellhole. Okay. The pane I had broken was on the lower half of this door, and I didn't care if I cut myself. I got down on my hands and knees and crawled like mad. I did it. I'm almost outside. I can actually escape. I'm safe. She's dead. I felt triumph. For a brief moment, the fear was gone. I was basking my victory over this malevolent entity. Huh? But it didn't last long before I was even halfway through the door. I felt something colliding itself around my arm. With a start, I looked back. You mustn't go outside. A tall, shadowy figure appeared behind me in the entranceway, and she had me in her grasp. There wasn't much more to her than an instinct flickering silhouette, but I could clearly see she had a broken neck. Was this a different apparition? Her scraggly root-like fingers were squeezing my arm in tremendous force, pushing aside muscle and tissue and pressing right on the bone. Who are you? Where are you going, my dear? I'll just be a little longer, so won't you please wait for me? That hurts, that really hurts! I was shaking hysterically and tears were streaming down my face. I was absolutely convinced that I was going to die here. Don't let go of me! Sashi! I could offer no resistance. She was too strong. All I could do was plead with her. Stop, please, you're really hurting me. I felt like my arm would snap in two at any moment. Let's be together forever. She wasn't just grabbing, but twisting as well. The pain was unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I couldn't think about anything else. My mind was absorbed by the conscionable agony. I thought my arm was about to snap off, but then all of a sudden, I was whisked away. Whisked away by him. Are you okay? Why? No time to explain. We have to run. What? He was still holding on to me tightly. After saving me from the brink of death, he led me back into the school at an incredible speed. Damn, what the hell was that thing? Please tell me I'm just dreaming. He practically split these words as I continued running. Why is he here? I tried to match his gait, and once we were a bit more in sync, I looked up at his face. After we'd reached the end of the hall, he suddenly veered into the last classroom before the stairwell, pulling me in with him. You okay? I'm fine. I can walk by myself, really. Oh, sorry, my bad. I moved away from him and almost immediately spilled onto the ground like a house of cards. Well, you sure don't seem okay to me. Maybe not, but I just need a few. Hey, don't push yourself. He grabbed my arm to help me up. Unfortunately, it was the arm Yoshiki has been twisting. Oh, sorry, is your arm that's hurting you then? Yeah, I don't know how bad it is, but it really stings, like it's on fire. I dragged my other hand over the sore spot where I assumed there was probably one hell of a bruise. I started rubbing gently, but it didn't help at all. That's not good. We should get you to the nurse's office right away, and then take care of it. But then we'll be exposing ourselves to that ghost again, right? Yeah. Just thinking about going back out there facing Yoshiki made me shudder. I couldn't believe he was entertaining the idea. Don't worry, even if she does come to get us, I'll keep you safe no matter what, okay? Gently reassurance actually made me forget the pain in my arm for a moment. I had to stop myself from blushing or try to at any rate. We need to treat your injuries as quickly as possible or they could get worse. The nurse may not be in, but I can at least apply first aid. Okay. Alright then, let's go. He offered his hand. I graciously took it, squeezing it tightly as he led me back into the hallway. His hand, it's so warm. Despite the fact that nothing had really changed, I was still in just as much danger as I had been. The paralyzing fear I had been feeling was gone. If it were just me, I would never be able to do this. I would have frozen up, but with Tatsuki leading the way, I felt like I could do anything. Man. Okay. Are you okay to run? Sure. With my blessing, he upped his pace significantly. Please don't let her show up. I prayed silently for smooth sailing as I followed his lead. As long as he's with me, I think I'll be okay. Gently squeezed his hand again, as if to reassure myself that he was still with me. I was starting to think maybe Yoshi was gone. Maybe we thwarted her, but of course, just as I was thinking that, she made her presence known again. What the hell was that? Show yourself. An earthly voice overbearded it. Oh my goodness. Through the dark corridor. Immediately threw myself into his bag. Bring me more. Oh, creepy. Over his shoulder, I saw the same shadowy-like spirit from before. Must have been waiting here to ambush us. It's alright, stay calm. But the ghost was moaning and wavering before us. We'd never be able to get past it. You do anything for me. Hey, Yoshidi. Yeah? I'm going to draw that thing's attention while it's distracted. I want you to run. But, no, wait. We'll run together. I've got a secret weapon. You what? It's a keepsake charm my grandmother gave me. When I pointed at that thing earlier, it definitely had an effect. A charm? Yeah. But you'll still be putting yourself right in harm's way. Huh? I'll be fine. It'll work out somehow, one way or another. That's not... Stay where you are. I really didn't have time to be arguing. It was closing in fast. And as it did, I noticed the spirit's figure had become more defined. It was a tall young woman with her head turned sideways at a 90-degree angle. Until Yoshi suggests she fell down a flight of stairs, so a broken neck would certainly fit. Go run! He gave me my back a shove and to get me started, and with no time to object, whatever. He ran too, darting ahead of me for a few short moments. Hey, ghost lady, over here! Stop! He ran close as he possibly could to get Yoshi's attention, then turned tall and began sprinting off the opposite direction. Come get me, you monster! Amazingly, it worked. The spirit began chasing him, leaving me completely obstructed. This doesn't feel right. Should I escape without him? I was torn. On one hand, I knew this was my chance, but I couldn't keep worrying about what would happen to him if his charm failed. I stopped for a moment and glanced over my shoulder. He was still running, and the shadow figure was still in hot pursuit. She was way too close. You need to take out your charm. It's fine. I told you to keep going. Once you're out of harm's way, I'll be right behind you. I promise. I still can't believe I fell for it, but this was right about when I realized the truth. He had no protective charm. He just made that up so he wouldn't object too strongly to him serving as a decoy while I got away. No, I can't let him go through with this. Oh my goodness, just run. I stopped in my tracks. I shouted out at the top of my lungs. Yoshiki, hold it right there. I wasn't sure exactly what I was getting myself into, but I had to do something, and calling the spirit's name was definitely seemed to have an effect. That's right, I know your name. What are you doing? At all at once, black figure was facing me. Though I never saw her turn around, she was flying toward me now, ignoring him. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I repeated this like a mantra and stuck one hand in my pocket, grasping tightly into one hand, and only item its last there. So you know who I am then? Unlike him, I have a real protective charm. Care, his effort, his beliefs, they were all packed into this pencil, and when you get right down to it, that's what a charm is, right? I squeezed the nubby little thing in my pocket, mentally preparing myself for the confrontation ahead. The confrontation I impulsively initiated. You have to run! I won't, absolutely will not. God, please protect me. I closed my eyes. Okay, the gauntlet had been thrown. I was putting a lot of faith into this, and I really, really hoped I hadn't made a mistake in doing so. My name is Yu. My goal is to become a teacher here at the school. I opened my eyes to find that the shadowy spirit Rashi had stopped dead in her tracks. Did it work? Was his pencil keeping this vengeful soul at bay? I don't need a replacement. Just die. Suddenly, I was whisked off my feet and slammed against the ceiling. I could see him down below. He was staring up at me and desperately leaping. He was trying to catch me, I suppose, even though he knew he'd never reach. I called out to him over and over in my mind. If he could get away, if he could survive this ordeal, that it would all have been worth it. Yashi was drawing near, and I was helplessly pinned to the ceiling. I had no chance at all. There was no doubt in my mind that my life was over. I clung to the relief I felt at his safety. It was the only thing keeping me from losing my head entirely. I'm only sounding tired because I feel like this dialogue is going on forever. And where are they in the school? Then at once, the situation took a complete 180. It was like a miracle. Stop right there. Before I had any idea what was happening, I found myself bathed in a gentle light. The woman from this morning? I'm sorry I was able to protect you, but now at last the evil will spread no farther. It was the old woman who had collapsed in front of my house. She was standing down below me, enveloped in a warm glow. The black shadow lunged toward her, then there was a horrific noise, and the old woman was gone. And just like that, I fell to the ground. Whatever Yashi had done to me, the old woman must have nullified it. That must have been why she came to me this morning, and why she had come again now. I felt like it was going faint. He ran to my side and gently scooped me off the ground into his arms. Yashi's spirit was gone. She'd vanished along with the light around us now. The only sound was the pitter-patter of raindrops on the school rooftop. Hey! I sufficed quite a bump on my head from my fall and suddenly disoriented, but I still had enough sense to put my arms around his neck. You idiot! Didn't I tell you to run away? I'm sorry, it's just I wanted to protect you. I wouldn't bear, oh my goodness, but instead just passed out in his arms. And then she wakes up. I felt as though I was walking from a long, horrible dream. Aww. Hey, you okay? Where are we? And how hard was that? You were in the nurse's office. Can't you tell? Nurse's office? It occurred to me to look around my surroundings. Probably something I should have done before asking about them. Beige walls, pink curtains, white bed, and solid blue covers. This was indeed the school infirmary, no doubt about it. Why are you... The better question is, why are you here? I found you passed out on the ground out there, so I carried you in. Out where exactly? Geez, did you get a concussion or something? It was right at the school gate. School gate? This is where you found me? Any ringing bells? But I was trapped inside the school and running from Yashi, wasn't I? That's right, my arm. It's probably broken. Wait, my arm's okay? Huh? Your arm? Was it a dream? No, it couldn't have been. I mean, it really hurt. I really thought I was going to die. Well, you're still a little out of sorts, but I'm glad you're safe at any rate. I guess you could say I had a gut feeling, maybe. I got concerned and stopped by your house, so your mom told me you'd be gone back to school, so I came by to find you, and well, I found you. Yes, there'll be time for that later. Okay, where are you going? I wanted to ask you about Yoshi. Shujio, glad to see you're awake. Ma'am? You gave us both quite a scare. Yuni was pale as a ghost when you came to get me. Luckily for you, I was working late tonight. I'm so sorry to have troubled you. It's fine, of course, but you were really moaning in your sleep. Were you having nightmares? Nightmares? It seemed like you were. He was worried sick about you. So it really was just a nightmare then. Maybe the scary was this afternoon was just too much for me. Are you feeling a little better now at least? Yeah. That's good. There's this smile cheerfully and disappeared behind the parting curtain. Letting out a sigh, I laid myself down on the bed once more. It was dead silent. The rain must have let up. The only sound I heard was an occasional cough from the nurse, who was otherwise going about her business quietly. Oh wait, what about the pen case? I thrust my hands in my pockets, not really expecting to find it, but there it is. The pen case, complete with his pencil, Talesman's side was present and accounted for, which meant that I made it to my classroom. Maybe I wasn't dreaming after all. Hey. Huh? Oh, welcome back. I was still trying to remember exact details about what happened when I especially felt something cold pressed against my cheek. What are you? You were sleeping pretty restlessly, and sweating an awful lot, so I figured you might be thirsty here. It's a cafe latte. Oh, thank you. He went out of his way to get this just for me. It was a lovely gesture. How could I possibly refuse? Hey, isn't tomorrow, or I guess today now, but either way, don't you have an entrance exam to take? What time does it start? At 9. So, only 4 hours then. I don't even want to think about that right now. Not after the day I just had. I've been put through hell on earth. Taking a test was the furthest thing from my mind. I was in tears, and I had no idea why, but maybe I was so relieved, so glad to be alive. Okay, hey, can you still stand? Huh? The timing is just right, so I'm going to show you something good. Something good? Yeah, or rather, it's something I really want you to see if you're up to it. Sure, I guess. He's showing us the place. Yeah. My nose was still running, but my heart felt a lot lighter. I no longer felt threatened by the school. I was comfortable and safe. The two of us left the nurse's office with him in the lead, and even though I was holding a cold cough in my hand, I still felt warm all over. Neither of us said a thing as he led me through the empty halls. It occurred to me that when we last saw one another, I was mad at him. Look, we're here. What is this? The hallway between the buildings? Just wait, you'll see it in a minute. See what? I had no idea what I was looking for. I just kept staring at him, but his eyes were fixed on the window leading out into the hallway. As I gazed upon him in profile, I felt my heart skip a beat. I had to apologize for what happened yesterday, but I just wasn't sure what to say. I let my feelings get the better of me and reprimanded him for behavior that was, at least at the time, entirely reasonable. There was more to it than that, though. There was one particular reason, more than any other, that made it hard for me to think of the words to say here. He and I had the run from Rashi together. We escaped her wrath against insurmountable odds, and what if that wasn't just a dream? Bingo, here we go. Huh? I followed his pointing finger and... Aww. Whoa, that's beautiful. What an absolutely stunning sunrise. It's actually the sunset I enjoyed watching most from here, but the sunrise is also pretty great too. It's gorgeous. The whole town is painted orange. Looks like you're back in good spirits again. This is the place that you're talking about, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is. You've been weeping the spot for me all this time, so why now? Are you showing me it today? No reason, really. No reason, huh? I could think of a reason, but I didn't say anything. It just seemed kind of far-fetched to me, and if I were misinterpreting him, I'd be very embarrassed. He couldn't possibly, could he? My face felt kind of warm. I placed a sweaty coffee latte can on my cheek and sighed softly. You feeling okay? Your face is really red. But is it? You aren't feeling faint, are you? No, 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 nothing like that. It's just, yeah, it's just the sun. Just the sun, the way the lights playing off my skin, that's all. Oh, okay. Boys can be so dense sometimes. Good luck on the exam. By the way, if you head back now and get ready, you should still be able to make it. Thank you, that's what I like about you. Huh? Ah, so I'm sorry. For what? Well, it's just that yesterday things might have seemed a little awkward between us after talking about that school legend, remember? Oh, yeah, I think I remember something like that. What do you mean, something like that? I was really bothered by it, you know? You girls obsess over the littlest things sometimes. Me, I didn't think anything of it. Really now. I let out another sigh and turned back toward the morning sun, stretching my arms skyward as a sudden wave of exhaustion overcame me. The day got brighter bit by bit, and I just stood there silently, trying to piece together all the jumbled thoughts rattling around in my head. I was running away from Yashi, and he was with me. Then I was saved by the old woman. It really was just a dream, huh? As the bright rays of the sun washed over me, I felt my new life and new hope welling up from within, and finally came to terms with those horrid events. Most likely I got the pen case without incident, but then on my way back something just hit my head and knocked me out. That would be just my luck. Oh hey, don't move. Huh? Stay right there, just like that. I didn't know what he was planning to do, but he was staring right at me. It felt kind of like he was staring into my soul. And then... What? Slowly, he drew his face toward mine. Is he... No way, is he really going to... Shut my eyes, I was ready for this. Or maybe I just wanted to look. But the next sensation I felt wasn't quite the one I was expecting. What happened here? Huh? He grabbed my arm for some reason, and was staring down at it intently. But what the hell is he... What is he doing? What? What is that? Seriously, I had no idea what was there. Oops, hit my arm. Turns out he was just concerned by the strange bruise I had apparently received, which had momentarily become visible when I raised my arms. It was right around my elbow, right where Yashi had grabbed me in my dream. Looks like it hurts. It doesn't hurt at all, actually, but what? Never mind, it's nothing. Giving a wry smile, I gently pulled my arm from his grip. Hey. Yeah? Before we go home, I have a favor to ask you. What is it? Would you mind if we held hands? Held hands? Yeah, just for a little. Is that asking too much? When he asked why I wanted to do this, I fed him his own line. I just told him, no reason. We only joined fingertips, but for the first time it really felt like I was connected to another person's heart. I remember feeling so happy. Hey, Miss you! I knew I heard that voice before, but who was it? Was I just dreaming again? I still felt like I was holding his hand, though. See, your hand! What? Good, you're awake. Huh? What? That's right. It's... Huh? I was still dazed. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was that one of my students was here and he looked concerned. Monsieur, your hand is... What? Oh my. I finally realized what he was talking about. I was holding his hand on my own and squeezing it awfully tightly. Excuse me, please, I'm so sorry. It's no problem. Though I have to say, you have a really strong grip, Monsieur. Do I now? In the past, oh, she's the bruise. I was renewed far and wide for being a weak and dainty young beauty, you know. How exactly do I respond to that? Well, you could say something nice. He was a really good student, and he and I got along well, and we were really great falling back into our usual pattern of good-natured ribbing, except... Wait a minute, why are you here? Well, I told you earlier, didn't I? I guess I shouldn't be surprised you don't remember anything. What am I supposed to remember exactly? A little while ago, you ate some porridge I made and took medicine before passing out again. I told you everything then. You did? Have you seriously forgotten all of that? Completely. Don't laugh. He sighed and pointed at the table. Class notes from Mr. Yamazaki. Wait, did you come all this way to deliver those? Yeah, and when I did, you were in a pretty bad way, so I made you some porridge. Oh, but don't worry, I had permission. Monet said I could borrow your kitchen. Monet did he? I stroked Monet's neck, and he lied down, confidently on my futon. Pretty much, such a pretty kitty. I was getting kind of wrapped up in petting him. As often as I did, I almost forgot Mushy was here, until he left out a huge sigh. Also, Miss Yu, leaving your front door unlocked is really dangerous. Oh, was it open? Yeah, and you're lucky I was the one who discovered that. You really need to be more careful. Totally noted. Thanks. Did I say something funny? No, you just sound like my mother. Yikes, I don't think I like the invocation here. I didn't mean to laugh, but I just had seemed kind of deranged, it must have seemed kind of deranged, but I always blame it on the fever. He looked at me and let out another sigh. My poor sense of humor must have been getting to him. Well, you sure seem a lot better than you were when I got here, so that's something. I feel better too. You seem like a rock, Miss Yu. That's right, I woke up this morning feeling dizzy and chilled. I called in sick and put food for Mona. I don't remember a thing after that. Oh, you don't remember going to the convenience store? The convenience store? Yeah, I found old packs and snacks. Let's see. Here, look at the time on the receipt. It was this morning. Oh, you're right. How can you possibly not remember going to the store? Amazing. That's just seriously. You need to pull yourself together. You didn't just go out in your pajamas or anything, did you? Well, I don't think I did. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't try and hide behind that laugh. Sorry. Were you taking care of me this whole time? Uh-huh. I'm really sorry you had to stay this late. It was really past 10 o'clock in the evening. I couldn't believe he had been with me this whole time. I felt both guilty and grateful, and I definitely gained a new respect for him. There's still a little porridge left if you get hungry. Thanks. And I bought these too. You went to the supermarket? There wasn't anything in the fridge in the fridge when I checked, so I figured I might as well. The bag was quite heavy. Inside, it was a bottle of orange juice, some bananas, canned peaches, apples, and other sorted fruits. That's vitamins. When you're sick, as you were, your body needs all the help it can get to fight back. Think of it like medicine. Not much fruit couldn't have been cheap, especially for a high schooler. I considered offering to pay him back, but decided against it. I know he wouldn't take my money, and besides, I really appreciated the fact that he'd gone all this way to trouble for me. I'd return the favor another time. As it ever seemed like he was going to be staying late after school, maybe I'd buy him dinner. Or I could help him with preparations for the school festival. Well, it's getting late. I should go. Oh, would you be okay? Do you know your way back? If you'd like, I can take you at least part the way. It's fine. Just go back to sleep, Miss Yu. You're not getting better yet. And besides, it isn't... you're such a sweetie. Seeing how much you care just makes my heart skip a beat. Oh, does it now? I'm sure you should be saying something like that to me. Miss Yu? Huh? Why not? We both joked like this a lot. I usually made him blush and get adorably embarrassed. But not today. Today he just grinned sheepishly with a mischievous glint in his eyes. I didn't quite get it. What was his angle? Who's him? And Miss Yu, is he your boyfriend? How do you... You kept calling his name in your sleep. You cried, lost in some sort of wonderful dream. So who is he? The crafty Machida had turned the tables on me, and how embarrassing to know that I'd been calling his name. Well, I hesitated to answer for a moment, then figured what the hell, why not? He's my first love. Oh? Judging by your actions earlier, you must have seriously been head over heels for him. What? Why? Well, when I got here, you thought I was him. It was unbelievable. What are you saying? Your face is beet red. That's just my fever, I swear. Well, that's fine. I'll let you believe whatever you want to believe. Oh, come on. Whatever happened to respecting your elders? Shouldn't that you shouldn't mess with adults. But you're in rare form today. I never got to see you like this. I wasn't sure he was going to give me the full story of all the embarrassing things I'd done in my fevered days, and maybe it was better he didn't. Either way, I was in his debt, so he couldn't tease me all. He couldn't tease me all he wanted, just this once. Oh crap! I have to get going. Yuka's going to be really angry with me. Thanks for everything. It's dark out, so please be careful on your way home. No worries. I miss you. You'd be sure to eat right and get better ASAP, you hear me? Of course, I'll kick in no time. Fight, the good fight. Thanks. What a good kid. I'd better be careful, though he is my student after all. Come here, Monet. You sleep with Mommy tonight. I miss you. Did he die? Okay, that's it. Then actually wasn't that long of a chapter, so thank you all for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one whenever I decide to play episode 4. So yeah, see ya.